Have you ever wondered what it's like to work in law enforcement? Here on Behind the Star, we share stories about the Orange County Sheriff's Office, Central Florida's largest law enforcement agency. From forensics to dispatch to the deputies on patrol, we'll talk to the brave men and women who protect our community. This is Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Welcome to Behind the Star, the official podcast of the Orange County Sheriff's Office. My name is Jon Busdeker, your host here at Behind the Star. And before we get too far, I say this all the time. I'm going to say it again. If you're not following us on social media, you are missing out. We put all kinds of great video and content on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And we've had a YouTube channel for a very long time here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office. And it does okay. I'll be honest with you. It doesn't get millions and millions of views until this week, actually. A video that we posted several months ago, actually, with one of our sergeants saving a suicidal man on a bridge. Something happened in the last week or so where somehow it got picked up or put in suggested players. It has 10 million views right now. So we're really, really excited about that. We've always been proud of Sergeant Shea for what he did that day and what he does every day, but we're really glad that we could feature that. So if you haven't seen that one, go to our YouTube page and follow us on YouTube, subscribe to us there, and you can see that video and all the other ones that we post there. So if you are a follower of our social media, you may have seen another video that we posted about Chief Deputy Denise Demps, and I have her on the podcast today. I'm actually in her office right now. Welcome to Behind the Star.
Why, thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. Thanks for making time for me. I know you're a busy woman here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and as I said, you are recently promoted to Chief Deputy. So maybe for people that aren't familiar with the Sheriff's Office and sort of the ranking system, and I'm one of them when I first started here. Explain exactly what Chief Deputy is and sort of where it is in the structure of the Orange County Sheriff's Office.
Well, the Orange County Sheriff's Office is a paramilitary organization. So we have a structure that's similar to the military side. But when you start from the top, so we have the sheriff who is an elected official. So the citizens of Orange County elect the sheriff. So he works for the community, and he has a senior command, executive command, which involves the undersheriff Canty. He is appointed by the sheriff, and he is responsible for the operational side, and he's normally directing what we're doing next or where we should be going. And then you have two chiefs that work under the undersheriff. So those are chief deputies. And as I said, only two.
Yeah.
So,
and you're one of them.
I'm one of them. And the other chief deputy is Chief Deputy Larry Zwig. And we split the organization into two bureaus. So we're both bureau commanders or bureau chiefs. And one is the Administrative Services Bureau, which is what I have. And Chief Zwig has the Operational Services Bureau. So, of course, when you think about support services and anything else that supports the mission, that falls on the Administrative Services Bureau. And I'll give you a little bit more about what is under that umbrella, but let me further tell you what the structure is. So the two chief deputies, and then we have 5 majors. The majors are division commanders. So we have a myriad of division commanders that are in charge of uniform patrol, specialized operation, court services and communications, support services. And the other is, support service. I said support services already.
I think you said them all.
I said them all. Okay, so the majors then have captains that work for them, and they are section commanders, and then, of course, lieutenant, who are platoon commanders, sergeants, which is anybody that served in the military knows that the sergeant is the most important person in the organization because they're the closest to our deputies, and they're the ones that's making sure that our daily tasks are being done.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have corporals, we have master deputies, we have deputy first class, and then a deputy.
Yeah.
So that's kind of several layers as you go up.
So you're way at the top.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm way at the bottom. I'm below deputy. and even an explorer probably. But I'm way down there, and you're way up.
You're very important,
Yeah, thank
John.
you. I appreciate that.
You work for the undersheriff,
That's
right?
true. That's true. So Chief Deputy Demps, how long have you worked here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and sort of where did you start at when you started here?
So when you think back, it seems like a long time ago, but for me, the time has flown by. Mm-hmm. So 29 years, this fall will be 30, and it just seems like it's been 10. So when I started, of course, most of the deputies start with uniform patrol. So everybody wants to be the patrol officer in the marked vehicle, responding to calls and helping our citizens. And I think that's the most important role, is to make sure that they understand why they took this job, mm-hmm. what their responsibilities are, what the expectations are from the community. So being in patrol, you respond to all types of calls. Your day starts one direction, and by the end of the day, you've probably been to 5 different calls with 5 different scenarios. And at the end of the day, you feel most rewarded because you did help someone.
Yeah. And so before I get too far into your career here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, I want to go back a little bit further. You grew up here in Central Florida, in Orlando.
Yes, I did. And I'm proud of that, because there's not a lot of native Orlando citizens here. But yes, I grew up, raised here, went to school here. I'm a Evans Trojans, go Trojans.
Go Trojans.
Alumni. So I really do. I've seen the community change over the years, but I'm proud to say that I'm from the community, and I'm actually serving the community that raised me.
Yeah. What part of Orlando did you grow up in?
West Orange County.
Okay.
So Washington Shores area, west off of Ivy Lane. So most people know that area, and it's that was being raised by a community. Mm-hmm. Everyone in the neighborhood knew our parents, our grandparents, my great-grandmother, and raised by a village. If you did anything in the community, by the time you made it to your home, your parent knew about it, and you had to answer for it, not only by the person that caught you and sent you home, but also by your parents by the time you got there. So, but it was a small community, very, very close-knit, and now it's grown. So there's
like the rest of Central Florida.
Right, the roads are bigger, everything's changed, but the people, people are still the same.
Yeah, and during the video that is on our website and our social media, I spoke with your sister, who's also a deputy here at the Orange County Sheriff's Office, and this didn't make it into the video, but I want you to confirm this. She said that when you were growing up in the neighborhood that you lived in, you had a horse.
Yes, we did. We
in
had
Washington Shores.
Yes, we did. We had a horse. His name was King. And oddly enough, there was a property next to us that was a vacant lot, and that's where he lived.
Okay.
So right. Yes.
You just don't see that often now. I mean, if you saw a horse in Washington Shores, I say this because it's more of it's closer to downtown Orlando. You might call the sheriff's office and say there's a horse roaming around our neighborhood.
Right.
But you have one in the neighborhood.
Yes.
So you said you went to Evans High School. How did you get interested in law enforcement? Or did you have family that was in law enforcement, or just did you see them around and say, I want to be that one day?
Well, in growing up in our community, we didn't see a lot of law enforcement driving around or having to patrol the areas. As I said, a village, we policed each other. Mm-hmm. If you did something wrong, you had to pay for it by the person that caught you. And I say pay for it, mean chastised, that sort of thing. But I did have a uncle that was a deputy sheriff. He was one of the first few that was hired at African Americans, but we really didn't have a lot of, policing us. So going to finishing high school and going into the military, I joined the Army Reserve, the U.S. Army Reserve, and I enlisted as a military police. So that's where I caught the bug. After going to training and learning that job. And it was more combat support, which means you're supporting the battlefield.
Yeah.
But once I was deployed in Desert Storm, and we actually had missions that involved patrolling routes, escorting, and actually an enemy prisoner of war mission where we were actually taking on the Iraqi soldiers who were surrendering to us at the end of the war.
And this was in the early 90s.
This was in the early 90s.
War.
Yes. Desert Storm.
Yes.
So
Not everybody knows history, so I like to at least make sure they know what time frame this was.
Right. So it was in the 91. I came back in 91, and I loved doing that job. So when I came back to Orlando, Florida, released from active duty, but still still serving as a reservist, I decided I wanted to be a law enforcement officer. And in Orange County, Sheriff's Office was it. You had Orlando Police Department, but they really weren't.
Second best agency, I like to say, in Central Florida.
So that was the number one agency, the only one I applied for, and I was lucky enough to walk in the door at the right time. They were planning to start a new academy with a big group of minorities. So I had maybe 2 months, 60 days to get everything done. And if anyone's ever applied for law enforcement, they know there's a lot of procedures,
Takes
a lot
forever.
of appointments, testing, background checks. So it was just, I think it was, God's doing that. He's like, okay, you're in the right place. I'm going to make sure you're successful here. So I've been here since 91. It's been my home, my adult life home, and I love it.
Yeah.
Still love it to today.
So when you came back from Iraq and you applied here and did the academy here, was the academy hard to do? Because you had went through basic training and you were in the military. Was it hard or not? I mean, like the physical part.
No, it was not. And I thank the military because we have a lot of physical training in the military. So we run all the time. We're doing push-ups, we're doing sit-ups. So same type of training for law enforcement. So I excelled on that part of the spectrum and was able to help other people develop their physical abilities. And part of the academy is also the learning how to do hand-to-hand combat, not fighting, but grappling with others without using a weapon. And I've always wanted to, train the way you're going to fight.
Yeah.
In other words, the way we said in the military, train the way you're going to perform. And my partner was a male, 6'2", 150 pounds, 80 pounds. I'm not sure how much he weighed, but I didn't want anyone that was my size and a female because I wanted someone on the street. I'm going to encounter the male. I'm going to encounter a male, so I want to be able to build my confidence.
That's right.
So my partner, he said I took a lot out on him because he he would complain after each session on, well, I thought you were going to go light on me. Nope. We're going to do this full, and I want you to do the same thing for me.
Yeah.
So I learned a lot, and I was grateful for the experience with having him as a partner because he prepared me for the road. You know? And I didn't get in many fights. You just got to know how to talk to people and relate to people and listen to them. So I did not have a lot of fights, but I was prepared. So
when you got hired and now you're a full-time deputy, where in Orange County were you sent to work?
Oddly enough, I was sent to the west side of Orange County. So Sector 3 is our central west jurisdiction. So I was actually patrolling the same areas where I grew up.
Was that on purpose? Did somebody say, well, you're from there, let's send you back over there?
No, I think it was they were trying to make sure they had enough trainers in all of the sectors. And I ended up I really wanted to work that area. So I did ask for that area. So I was able to, go back and be a role model, see some of my classmates and put them on the right path. Some did not make it on the right path. So unfortunately, I've arrested classmates. But, it's a job. And I think they understood this is what I'm doing for a living. I messed up. So, I'd rather have you arrest me than someone else.
Yeah.
But, it was rewarding to go back to the same community I grew up in and being able to help those that need help and make a change for that community.
I mean, I would imagine there would be some advantages of knowing the area that you're from and you, like you said, knowing the people that live there and having, I don't want to say eyes on the street, but you might say, oh, that's my neighbor. I can ask that person if this happened. But I imagine there'd be disadvantages too, because like you said, you got to go and possibly arrest people that you were sitting next to in chemistry.
Right. So there is disadvantages, and as a older community, you still get the reports from my grandmother. Hey, so and so said they saw you and you did this and you did that,
and they're like, "Come on, Denise! Like, come on! Don't send me to jail, Denise."
Right. So, but there are disadvantages just because they do know you and they may, not respect your authority sometimes. Or hey, we went to school together. You don't have to do this now. Yes, I do because it's my job. So I have to take care of business. Nothing personal. I still know you. When you get out, we're still gonna talk. I'm still gonna say hello. But this is what we have to take care of right now. So, but it was very rewarding. And of course, I've moved on and worked in other areas of the county. And the county is huge, so it's always a advantage to learn different areas and take your experiences to different areas as well.
So how long were you on the road for? And then eventually did you get sort of promoted and other jobs in different positions here at the agency?
Yes, I was on patrol probably about 1 year.
Okay.
And about that time, it was in 93, Kevin Berry had won the sheriff election, and he reorganized his undercover narcotics unit. And out of the blue, as a new deputy, because you're still new until like 2 or 3 years, I received a call from one of the captains, putting the team together, and asked if I was interested. And I've learned in the military, you never say no.
Yeah.
You say yes before you're voluntold. So I said, sure. And little did I know what I was getting into. Here I am a year later, or a couple weeks later, in Undercover Narcotics.
So explain what that is exactly. I mean, it sounds like it's obvious, but explain what it is.
Right, and I had a misconception myself. So when you look at television, you think of the person has to go deep undercover, can't speak to their family members, have to hide out. No, that's not how it works in real life.
That's only on Miami Vice.
Right, exactly. That was the exact picture I was thinking when they told me that. But no, you are assigned to investigate complaints for those that are selling drugs in the area. We had the responsibility of making arrests, personally buying drugs from the drug dealers at the time. So I had a, dressed down persona.
You didn't wear a uniform.
Had a different name for my undercover roles. We drove undercover vehicles, regular vehicles.
Yeah,
but we dressed like everybody else.
Ferrari, though, no.
I got a Hyundai, a four-door Hyundai, which was odd. But yes, a Hyundai. It didn't move out of its own way. But you're there to take the drugs off the street. So we did search warrants. So you make a buy from the person out of their home, prove that there's drugs in the house. You get a warrant from the judge, and then you go back and you seize the drugs from that home. Arrest warrants. So we did a lot of operations because at that time the street drug sales was very prevalent. So selling on a street corner, that's how prevalent it was at the time. So you would drive up and make a purchase of crack cocaine, and we would decide, okay, are we going to arrest the person now or continue the investigation to see if we can get more from the next level or the next person that's providing it. So it took a lot of investigative effort. We had to do a lot of surveillances, and most importantly, you also had to make sure that we were able to take care of the person that is working in an undercover capacity, to go in and rescue them if they were taken by gunpoint or accosted or assaulted. We've had investigators that's been punched in the face.
Did that ever happen to you, or anything like that ever happen to you?
Not me directly. One of my buys, I was with one of my partners, Andy, and he'll never let me forget it. I just saw him last week, and he reminded me of it again. He's like, I can't believe you got me punched in the face. But he looked away from the person that he was buying from to look at me to answer a question, and the guy sucker punched him.
Really?
And took the money out of his hand and took off running. We caught him, of course.
Okay,
we
good.
caught him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had never had that experience, but yes, it's been close and up personal with my partner Andy at the time. So narcotics was exciting. It was fun.
Was
it was
scary?
serious.
Was it scary?
It was serious at times because you're going into someone's house and by yourself. And you don't know what they're thinking. You don't know what's in their house. So you have to be prepared to talk yourself out of the home or talk yourself into safety long enough for someone to come and rescue you. So it was scary going into homes that you didn't know, as just pulling up to the corner. Like I said, you never know if they're going to pull a gun out on you and rob you of your money, or jump in the car and tell you to drive somewhere, and you're not prepared to do that.
Were you wearing like a microphone or anything? Did they know? Did somebody could hear if you were in trouble?
Right. We would normally have some type of listening device, either in the car or on ourselves. So that was our lifeline really depended on a 9-volt battery most of the time.
Wow.
So if the battery died or they didn't hear you, you may not know that. So you're still operating. So if they're not coming, you're like, oh, I still got to keep talking. Wow. Okay, it's taking a long time. Let me say this, or let me say that, or let me get out of here.
Was there like a word you had to say, or was it just like, all right, get in here?
No, we always had a
secret
code word.
Did you said earlier you had like an alias.
Yes.
Was it the same one that you would use all the time, like a certain name? Or
right.
Do you remember that? Can you tell me that name?
Yes, Veronica Mims.
Okay.
And I was a nurse.
Oh, all right. Where'd you come up with that name, or did they give it to you?
No, you come up with your own name. So I was talking to my mom one day, and we were talking back and forth, and I'm like, I gotta come up with a name. And she said, well, what about Veronica Mims? And I'm like, well, okay, that'll work for me. So it was kind of a fly by night, talking to my mom and going over names and something I've got to remember. So I still remember it to this day. And going in, saying I'm a nurse, they bought it. And most people would say, I thought you were a school teacher, not a nurse. So I guess the look was not aggressive, or I didn't look like a cop, which was good. I love that. But it worked for me, and I still remember that name to the day. So
after Undercover Narcotics, where did you go next?
I went to Robbery. So from Undercover Narcotics to investigating robberies, which is carjackings, bank robberies, home invasions, just robbery, simple robbery where someone just walks up and takes something from the person. And that was that was a little bit more intense investigating, because you do have victims who end up in the hospital or need surgery. They're actually physically hurt. So dealing with the victims sometimes to get them to the point where they can just tell you what happened it takes time to get them through that traumatic experience. But that was a good move for me. From transitioning from narcotics to robbery was good, because it continued my investigative skills and learned a little bit more about interviewing and making sure that you follow the right protocols according to their amendment rights.
Yeah. And so over the years, especially with robbery, are there any that really sort of stick out to you? Any cases that you're particularly proud of where maybe somebody came to you and said, this person did this to me and we're looking for him, and you helped sort of solve that case, or your team did?
Well, my first case is my most, it stands out the most. So
you had one and then all downhill.
I've had some good cases, but the first one was unexpected. Okay. So joined the robbery unit, and we get a bank robbery. And when we get bank robberies, everyone in the unit responds to that call. So, of course, the bank has video surveillance. They have the place locked down. They're talking to the teller. She's giving the description. So we get a chance to finally see the video, and the manager, he has to come in and access it. So we're looking at the video, and I say to them, I know who that person is. And everyone stops and like, what do you mean? I said, I know who that is. And I told him the name, and I said, well, how do you know him? I just graduated with him a few years ago. So I had a yearbook that I went and grabbed and brought it back to the office and showed them the video, and they're like, the video and the picture of him next to it. They're like, oh my God, you solved the bank robbery already. It's like, oh, cool.
you're like this job's easy.
Yeah, I can do this. And it wasn't in the area that we grew up in, so it was kind of weird, because it was Lee Road area. So it was a bank on Lee Road, and I'm like, wow. And I'm thinking, like, what happened in his life that caused him to get to that point where he went in and committed a bank robbery. Yeah. So, but we did find him, arrest him. I think he did go to jail. So I hope he has recovered from it. Yeah. Because I haven't ran into him again. So that's my first case was the most exciting, because I solved it right away. It was like that.
But they weren't all like that.
They were not all like that. No, there was a lot of whodunits, those that are disguised, totally covered up. So that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work. So robbery is, you got to follow the tips and follow the investigative leads and DNA and that sort of thing.
So I don't want to go through. I can't go through every single job that you've done because you've had so many here
at
the Orange County Sheriff's Office. But prior to this, you were a major.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what did you oversee as major?
So as a major, I have had 3 different divisions. So my most recent one before getting promoted to chief deputy was Special Operations Division, and that involved most of our specialized units. So K9 are mounted with the horses, aviation, marine, those that are on the boats, ag crimes, agriculture crimes. They investigate crimes against our farm animals or, things that are related to agricultural crimes. And motors, no one likes the motorman writing a ticket, but we do get a lot of traffic complaints. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. They want them in the community to catch everybody else, but they don't want to get a ticket. And then, of course, we had our reserve deputies. So the reserve deputies are those that wear uniform, they're trained, they take the same oath, but they are doing this job for free. And those are my special deputies, because if they, they're doing it for free, that means they really want to give back to the community. And then prior to that, I was with courts. I had the Court Services and Communications Division, everything court. So deputies that had to be in the courthouse, as well as those that were serving warrants, writs, evictions, and going to pick up fugitives who are in different jurisdictions, out of state, in state, and bring them back. And then prior to that, my first major job when I was promoted to major was uniform patrol. So all 6 sectors throughout the county. That was a 24/7 job, because nobody was off. There was always someone working that worked for me. So that was my first major position and my most busiest, because like I said, 24/7, it was always something happening. So I was very, very busy during that time.
Yeah.
So.
And so you were promoted to chief deputy in January. So you've been doing this 6 weeks or so, we'll say, something like that. You've been here 29 years, almost 30. Well, when you first started here, I mean, was this sort of your hope or your plan that over the years you would just get promoted and go from one to the next and hopefully make it up here? Or when you started, where you're like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I mean, what was sort of your plan, you think, when you started?
When I started, I just wanted to be the best deputy I could be. I wanted to be able to keep my job. So that was my first thought. And then as I moved through the different units and different assignments and working with different supervisors, I felt I wanted to be a sergeant. I wanted to be the corporal, then the sergeant, have my own squad, and that was going to be the prime position that I would hold as a deputy. Once I became a sergeant, I learned that, okay, why not be a lieutenant and make those decisions that affect others' lives, and be able to manage others and issues and concerns. So lieutenant, I wanted lieutenant, captain. It was like, okay, maybe next. So it kind of, the more responsibility I had, the more interest I had into the next level. So chief deputy was, I guess, I was surprised when I got the call. I don't know why I was surprised. That's most people say, why are you surprised? You're good. You should be. This is what you should be aspiring to do. But I just didn't know it was going to happen. So I'm happy it did. Excited to take the responsibility. I've been very, very busy for the last 6 weeks, and look forward to making sure that we leave the community in the best shape that we can have. We can have as law enforcement organizations. So eventually, I'm going to have to retire, and I want to develop other females in the community, in the organization, to come up and take my position so we can better serve our community.
And so when you were promoted, you are the first Black woman to have this job. What do you think about that?
I think we have come a long way. That's what I think. So looking at this position, we've had a Black sheriff, we've had a African-American male undersheriff before, and now we have one, number 2. So women, we always think that we can't make it into certain jobs or certain career tracks, and being able to show that if you can see me here, you can do it. I think that's a perfect example for anyone else that may have that doubt in their mind of, hey, if she's there, I can be there. So I think we've made leaps and bounds on increasing the number of women we have in the agency, the number of women we have in the profession, the number of women we have in leadership. So I really do take my responsibility serious about being a leader. First, a leader, second, a woman, and third, African American. So I think that's important for us to have those examples, and I'm very, very appreciative that the sheriff has the same vision, that we need to be a reflection of our community. We need to have women, we need to have men, we need to have all races, all genders, all sexual orientations within this organization, so we can better serve our community.
So as we've talked about, you've been here 30 years. I'm sure policing's maybe changed a little bit in that amount of time. First of all, how has it changed maybe since you started? And maybe where do you want to take it in your role here as chief deputy?
Well, the first thing I would say, the biggest difference is technology. The deputies now, they have computers in their cars. They have radios that, it goes with them. When I started, the radios were in the vehicles, and you may have had a radio that you could take as a portable, and it may have worked. It may have not worked. So the technology that we have today, the cameras, the tasers, the computers, so we are more in tune with the systems and each other, and it's instant. You push a button and you get the message right away. Typing computers versus typing reports versus writing reports. I had to handwrite reports. And if you made a mistake, you started over. There wasn't a option to use whiteout. So I think that was a good thing. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword, where some things are good and it changes for the better, and some things, for whatever we change, it wipes out something else. So technology for sure, information, like we're doing right now, podcasts and Facebook and, Instagram. Those are things that we didn't have back then. So I think we've improved technology-wise. We're more proficient, efficient on a lot of the processes, communication, and collaboration. So before, the sheriff's office just dealt with what's in our jurisdiction. Now we work with other organizations, the jurisdictions that were within the county. So we work very well with our municipalities. So all of that has changed. And then training. Our training has changed. Leadership training has changed. So there's a lot that's changed for the better. Yeah. So moving forward, and we've had to take on responsibilities that really were not in our, shouldn't have been in our purview. So, and I say that to lead up to this answer, mental health for us, in our community a few years back, 20 years ago, there was a shift in the state of Florida, where we shifted from mental institutions, mental hospitals, to that's a bad word. Let's integrate the family members who are mentally ill back to their community, and let the family and community take care of them without funding. Yeah. So that's been a responsibility that law enforcement has to take on for quite a few years, on dealing with those that are in mental crisis, those that are in have a mental health issue, and the person just wants them gone. They're calling the police because they're here and they're doing this, and I want them out of my view. Just get them somewhere else. So we've had to work over a few years to find ways, to find resources, divert them from the jail to assistance or counseling, or getting them on the right path to recovery. So that's been my passion for the last few years, is crisis intervention, and making sure our deputies are aware that everyone that you talk to may not be diverting, not talking to you because they're doing that. It's because they have a mental illness. They can't hear you because of the voices in their head, and go into that situation with a different point of view. Don't go in with the do what I say, do it now. And if they don't, then you have to take action. We have all the time in the world to sit, talk, and listen. So we're working very feverishly on getting our deputies trained on awareness of mental illnesses, knowing that there's a difference between someone that has Asperger's, someone that may be autistic, someone that may be bipolar, someone that may be schizophrenic. So those are different things that we're learning now, and we're doing a better job at not using the laws versus using resources to get help for those people. So that's one thing I want to continue to implement into the organization, that they have that training before they hit the streets with their training as deputy sheriffs. And then for us as well, we see a lot of horrific scenes. We deal with a lot of horrific incidences as first responders, and I think it's important for us as for law enforcement to make sure we let our deputies know it's okay to get help. It's okay not to be okay right now. Once you get the help, you can come back to work and make yourself better for the community. So that's my biggest push is for mental health on the sheriff's office side.
Yeah. Do you think it's harder for somebody to be a deputy or a law enforcement officer today than it was before?
Yes, yes, it's definitely harder. There's a lot of responsibilities. There's a lot of requirements. Just the education portion. When I started, you didn't need a college degree, military college degree, or someone that had the aptitude for the profession. So I do think it's harder because it's more responsibilities. Our umbrella has increased on responsibilities to know so much and to do so much for the community. So I do think it's a little bit more challenging. I think the deputies we have today, they are more tech savvy. So they're a little bit more tech savvy than most of us that started when I started almost 30 years ago. So they have an upper hand on getting in there and knowing what the computer system does, completing reports, using the data systems, using the technology, the tasers, all those things. So I do think they're a lot of better. They're better equipped because of how the community, the culture that they've been raised in.
Yeah. I mean, I know you're not in recruiting, but I'm sure you are happy to see new people come to work at the Orange County Sheriff's Office.
Right.
But is it a challenge to find people that want to get into law enforcement or not?
I would say we have a lot of applicants. So as everybody, we watch television, we have a misconception on what law enforcement is. So not everyone will qualify for the job, but we do have applicants coming in. So we're always recruiting. We're always asking people, hey, apply. Tell us about yourself. Don't decide on your own. Let us make the decision on if you qualify or not. So we do have people coming in and applications coming in all the time. And it is competitive because we're not the only ones hiring. So there's other municipalities, we have federal, we have state. So I would say we are we're increasing our numbers, but we would love to see more people coming to the profession these days. So it's one of those careers where it's rewarding. You're not going to get rich. You're not going to be a millionaire. I have to tell you that up front. But you will be able to earn a decent living, get your education. We have college reimbursement. We're all supportive of you, increasing your knowledge and making sure you're a better deputy. So there's different perks with the job that make up for not making the $1 million.
So as we've said, you've been here almost 30 years. We didn't even get into this, but I will say you're still in the U.S. Army Reserve.
Yes.
Correct? You're a Master Sergeant. Tell me your
Command Sergeant Major.
I was mixing them all up. But that's very high up there. I know that when I did the research.
Yes.
Do you see yourself as a role model?
I do now. I think over the years, especially as a Command Sergeant Major, that role is definitely, there's a lot of history behind Command Sergeant Major and our responsibilities and what it means to the Army. So I do see myself as a role model now. Initially, when I was moving up as a lieutenant, as a captain, even when I became a major, it's like, I'm just Denise. I'm just Denise. And there's sometimes I say I'm just Denise today because I am, but I do understand that I do have a role to play as far as being that visual role model, making sure when they see me, they know that I'm representing everyone, making sure I'm doing the right thing. And I think now being that role model, taking on that responsibility has prepared me for this position as chief deputy to make sure that I have a pulse on what's happening with everyone so I can make the decisions that are right for everyone, not just for women. I know the guys are like, you're just making decisions for the women. No, I'm making decisions for everyone. However, it may improve the lives of our women in the organization. So,
well, they would never say that about the other chief deputy. Like, you're just making decisions for men.
They wouldn't. No, they wouldn't, would they? So, but yeah, I do take on that responsibility, and I take it seriously.
Do you still like this job?
Yes, I do. I do like this job. I enjoy getting up and coming to work every day because no day is the same. So there's always a difference in what's either happening, issues, concerns, making decisions. We have a lot of employees, so they have personal things that go on in their life, and they may need extra attention or assistance with something. So every day is like an adventure.
I like that. We're going to end it there. Every day is like an adventure. It sure is. Well, Chief Deputy Demps, thank you so much for chatting with me, and we will see you guys next time on Behind the Star. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Star. You can find us wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Also, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, I'm Jon Busdeker, and this is Behind the Star.